Alright, Chris Kugler here. Welcome back to another developer session. Today we'll be, wrapping up the target all QTE that we started in the last few parts. This will include adding additional properties to determine behavior, as well as building out some abstract classes from what we've kind of defined with this QTE and a few of our other QTEs. Now that we have we've kind of settled into a common pattern for building these things and setting them up. Make something nice and nice little base class so we don't have to repeat as much logic each time. So let's start with a few behavioral things we had. So what do I have on my list here? Controls enemy selection based on player-focused enemy. Player cannot perform other actions. That's also true. So pressing the wrong button fails the QTE. Right now, it completely fails it out. No damage is dealt if all of the enemy's QTE buttons are not hit. But we want the option for a partial hit. So if we have 3 enemies on the screen, enemy 1, his QTE is hit, enemy 2 is hit, enemy 3 misses, those first 2 enemies will take the hit while the third enemy doesn't take any damage. Anything else? Yeah, actually that's really the only behavioral thing offhand that I think I want to implement. So as part of our input options, unless I left myself some more to-dos in here that'll shed some more light on what I was initially thinking. So allow partial success, and let's see here. So I think when I initially wrote this, I kind of set it up to work like this, in the sense that my output has a array of successfully hit enemies. And since we're going by our current index for setting up that array, not just grabbing every single enemy or none of the enemies, really we just need to change this update logic in order to accept that the, let's see here. So if the prompt is missed, interrupt. That needs to only happen if the input allow successful is or allow partial is false. So I think this is input criteria, partial success. Oh. If this dot partial, allow partial success, else we'll continue doing this. No, sorry. There we go. So if the prompt is missed, interrupt. Or if we allow partial success, we need to this dot engagement requirement met is true. Now, the way the logic works on building our inputs, it relies on this current input index being incremented before our requirement is met, because of the way that we loop over our result set. So current input index, yeah. I believe that's the case. So, if the current input index is less than the number of buttons we're allowed to go in, otherwise we're setting engagement to true. However, we don't want to continue doing this update loop if the engagement has already been met. and we're not, only if we're not interrupted, we're not engaged already. Like, I think that's the trick. Now, because of the way the, we're not using coroutines to actually execute the engagement or any other kind of multi-threading, so, this will be a sequential order. We'll hit the engagement, we'll hit the interruption, and our next, during that same frame, we should be hitting the actual engage method, which will disable the control, and the update method will no longer be called. However, just better safe than sorry, in case we're, maybe it changes in the future and we start running these through coroutines, or some parts get split off into, something other than the update. Just be safe here. So, so that should work based on that. So let's go back to our player skill controller. Use swipe attack. And we're going to go ahead and allow partial success. If Unity ever decides to start up for me, I always forget to do that. First session of the day, I need to remember to go ahead and enable, or to run the game first before I start recording. I can never seem to do that. So let's get in here and let's hope we get okay, so that's only got one enemy. There we go. So we're going to swipe attack, we're going to hit the first one, and we're going to fail the second one. Well, that wasn't, I wonder if I was just wrong and I don't actually need. Let's try that again. So I'm going to fail. Yeah. Okay, so, you know what? I was completely wrong on that. I did not need the, I don't need the increment when we do this. That's the deal. So, let's get on in here. Oh, we'll do it against one enemy and fail the prompt. There we go, yeah. Now give me more than one enemy. There we go. Alright, there we go. So that was the first prompt successful, the second prompt getting missed. Now let's succeed on both prompts. Hits both. And here's another thing we need to test, is starting on the right target. Yeah, excellent. And actually that would have been a good test I need to do, is killing the second enemy and then targeting the first with the attack, just to make sure that my my selection of the available targets, or rather when I'm setting up the QTE, is valid. Alright, so I guess we just need to kill some of these guys. Getting too many battles with only one enemy here. I think during one of my next testing cycles, I'm going to up the spawn setting to allow for more than just the two enemies. But for now, so we'll kill this guy. Block, and let's swipe attack. Fail. Oh, actually, I was successful. I accidentally succeeded in the prompt. Alright, so that looks good. Looks like that's successful. Let's take a look at our classes here. So we have an IQTE, and we have these couple different QTE objects. I'm going to create a QTE class. And this guy's going to be abstract. Public abstract class, and he is going to be a mono behavior. It's going to implement IQTE. Well, this is different based on the thing, so we're going to make that a abstract property is enabled. I believe this is just going to return this not enabled every time. So activate, we have some common things going on in here. Now, is interrupted is equal to false. Transform.setParent. Game object set active. These guys. All right. And we'll start off with this QTE being our base, or our test, and we'll implement QTE in all of the other ones as well. I don't think this set parent null is actually needed in these other two, but that's fine. So we don't need that. Alright, so it builds. So let's see if it still works. Looks good to me. Alright, so let's go ahead and first off, clean up this target QTE a bit. So let's see, check direction, engage. I'll leave those debug logs in there commented out. So target slider QTE, if you'll remember, is our normal attack slider, as well as the QTE used for bash and stun bash. which are functionally the same, but minus the critical area. Okay, well, something went wrong there. Ah. Oh. That'll happen. Accidentally called the wrong method. So, let's try that again. That looks pretty good. And let's retrofit the guard QTE while we're at it. Am I using this methodology for showing the guard QTE? I mean, it's interfacing IQTE, so I must be. Yeah, I am. Okay. I guess I'm using on battle end. Return to pool. Transform.set parent null enabled. Unhook from this active actor. Yeah, I mean, Alright, so let's go for it. We'll deal with that in the second phase. I'm not sure I actually need that. So let's take a look here. Actually, did I get rid of is interrupted on the target slider as well? So guard QTE. Yeah, okay. So that let's see what happens. I'm not sure about that, removing that hook onto the actor killed event, since presumably that was going to disable the guard QTE on an enemy that's attacking when it's killed. But first things first, you guys go ahead and attack. We get our QTE. That one was successful. That one failed. Let's go ahead and kill an enemy. Yeah, okay, so it went away on its own. Yeah, I don't think I was using that. I was actually using that event for anything anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I think that thing's garbage. So, attached actor killed, return to pool. But if that's the case, because the interrupt is called as a whatchamacallit, via broadcast message. So where's that being called from? Actor. On damage, if the HP is equal to 0, then we interrupt the QTE. Yeah, so I don't need the on killed hook in there. So I was smart for a brief moment. I had handled for that already. So let's go ahead and get rid of attached actor. We can do away with all this. Yeah, so that's good. So what else do we need here? Do we need on battle end? I mean, really? If we're already broadcasting the disabling of the QTE, yeah, Yeah, we don't need that at all either. There you are on battle start. Just go ahead and make sure this still works. And if so, I believe we are done refactoring that for the moment. So let's see here. Come here, bunny, bunny, bunny. Let's attack me. Right, one success, one failed. And I'm looking at the amount of damage they're doing for that. Let's go ahead and time this up a little bit. Yeah, that disappeared just fine. Yeah. Alright, we are good with our, a little bit of refactoring, not too much. Now, we didn't actually remove a whole truckload of common functionality, but enough that makes it worth it. Yeah, I'm just looking for commented out code to delete, but it looks like I cleared it all out. So, anyways, that concludes this session. I feel like we're probably done with the target all QTE as a whole, at least until I come up with some other use case. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.